In the Resident Evil world, survival is at stake due to the possible threats of outbreak of biohazards and evil companies. Albert Wesker is a leading antagonist in the Resident Evil series, often involved in the covert deals of the notorious Umbrella Company and later other evil organizations. His character acts like a hub, connecting different games and characters throughout the series. In Resident Evil 4 Remake's Separate Ways expansion, Wesker has a remarkable appearance, proving that he is a man behind the shadows and on a vicious mission to achieve his evil goals and achievements. Capcom's desire to rethink and reconceptualize classic titles has led to various remakes of the Resident Evil series, with improved graphics, dialogue, and overall storytelling, creating a more compact Resident Evil universe. Resident Evil 4 Remake, for example, greatly developed the relationship between Leon Scott Kennedy and Ashley Graham. However, in this complex web of the Resident Evil universe, Albert Wesker plays a prominent role. While the Separate Ways DLC wasn't originally intended as a bridge to remake the next version, it does prove to be a narrative-driven piece and could set the stage for a possible remake of Resident Evil 5. The Separate Ways DLC gives players the opportunity to step into the shoes of Ada Wong, who embarks on a mission parallel to Leon Kennedy's original campaign. His effort involves securing a Plaga example for Wesker, ignoring the huge consequences it could have. Expanding Ada's background not only gives depth to her role, but also reveals the complex relationship she shares with Wesker. While Separate Ways was originally created as part of Resident Evil 4 Remake, its importance contributes to a possible remake of Resident Evil 5. With the expansion of the stories of Ada and Wesker, it is a vital bridge to the narrative of Resident Evil 5. For newer Resident Evil fans, the familiarity with Albert Wesker's obscure character largely stems from the experience of Separate Ways. However, those who have experienced the franchise only through new remakes that began with Resident Evil 2 may not have played the first Resident Evil version, where Wesker is shown for the first time and players realize he's a villain. Since Wesker is central to Resident Evil 5 as the main antagonist, it's important to learn about him before he becomes a super threat. Wesker dominates Resident Evil 5 and plays a pivotal role as a mastermind and cunning. With his superior intelligence, advanced abilities, and ruthless behavior, Wesker is a serious threat to Chris Redfield and Sheva Alomar. He is portrayed as an accomplished villain with big ambitions, a vision that is reflected in every single appearance in the series, making him one of the best villains in the video game industry. As fans look forward to a possible remake of Resident Evil 5, the Wesker version introduced in Separate Ways not only sets the stage for a deeper exploration of his character in a possible remake, but also builds a bridge for new fans to better understand his importance in the Resident Evil universe. While Capcom has actively revived various titles in the Resident Evil franchise, one notable absentee among the remakes is Resident Evil Code Veronica. Fans of the classic version are still waiting for the game's remake, and in the absence of a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica, the Separate Ways DLC is even more important. While Resident Evil Code Veronica could still have a remake in the future, it looks like Resident Evil 5 will happen first. While it's nice to see Ada Wong's fascinating background, knowing her links to Albert Wesker will be a necessity to understand the story of the series in the future. And the Separate Ways DLC does just as well. As Capcom explores opportunities to revisit previous Resident Evil titles, it becomes clear that Separate Ways will provide new fans with a necessary introduction to the characters and their complex connections, setting the stage for a possible remake of Resident Evil 5.